it was supposed to unmute me from the beginning. Thank y'all. I appreciate you letting me know on that. Let's start over. Welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thanks for pulling up to the Sooner or Later podcast edition. For some reason, nothing decided to, turn itself back on, but y'all can hear me now, right? Awesome. And James, you are awesome, of course, but you did not win the over under, even though the audio did not show up like it was supposed to. But if you're here, since you're here, go ahead and hit that like button as well as subscribe if you're new to the channel. And if you're listening to the audio version, rate us, review us, and give us 5 stars. You think we deserve it? Just give us 5 anyway. And gift it. So on today's episode, we're going to dive heavily into the spring game. We're going to talk about the most recent commitment as well as some recruiting updates, some rumors that's going around, and talk potentially a little bit about the transfer portal. And I've got a special guest with me. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in to do his standard introduction. My man, Jason. Jason, what's going on, man?
Just kidding, bro.
See, you can't be doing me like that, man. Look, I just got off the road.
I get it, bro. I was trying to tell you, man, from the get up. I was like, why don't I hear him? No, man, this is Jason Watkins again, back from the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Happy to be on the show again, bud. So appreciate it. Now that we have all of our technical difficulties out of the way, I had them all night last night, so no worries. You're not getting nothing from me, Dad.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm just not getting off the road. I was in Tulsa all weekend. My son had a soccer tournament, and I was back and forth. Just got home probably about 15 minutes ago. And so, yeah, I'm just discombobulated. So that's my bad. Y'all can laugh and joke and talk about me, but don't worry. This won't probably end up on the final version of this. I'm going to go ahead and just snip this part out so y'all can't talk about me forever. But anyway, no, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk spring game. We're going to talk about rumors and everything. We have probably 2 more people joining a little bit later. But I think we'll just dive right into the main thing that happened right before the spring game. Let us see. We had some commitments, news and notes. So I know y'all saw the video I dropped this afternoon. Well, yeah, afternoon, right before we hit to the final game. Tonight was Jaden Hardy, 4-star safety that has committed here to Oklahoma. Of course, your boy is stoked that we've got ourselves. We're filling out that secondary really quickly. A lot of the skills positions are deciding they want to go ahead and get their spot slotted before somebody else tries to come and take it. And so we're going to accept all of those today. Now, granted, it's not as exciting as I know a lot of people want when it comes to the big men that we are trying to get our hands on, but commitment's a commitment to get it started. So, Jason, when you saw that, tell me your thoughts. What jumped on there?
Man, Jaden Hardy's a big player, man, big time player. He's one of those guys that you could see him, moving up. He just seems like he's all athlete all the time. So, and with what we're seeing the last couple, obviously during the spring game, which we're going to get into, the safety position is something we're starting to look like we're going to be heavy in, and I love it. I mean, I'm all for it. We talked about on Chris's show and my show last night that this is the difference in recruiting for the SEC and recruiting for the Big 12 is that you get defensive players in droves, bunches of them, and you make their you produce a lot of competition between players, which iron sharpens iron. We talk about that all the time, so that's a big deal. I just feel like it's I think in this, this is a big time player as it is. I think he's one of the top 5 players in Texas as far as on the defensive side for that position.
Yeah, if I'm correct, he's the number 1 safety in the state of Texas.
Right. So yeah, there you go. And they're still in for a couple of other guys, anyway. So I love this pickup, particularly after you weren't able to. What was the kid that went to Ohio State last week or whatever? Didn't pick him up, obviously, but
Pierce.
That was one with Pierce.
Peyton Pierce.
Correct. Yeah, the name was coming. But it's, you got to think, they kind of knew that they were going to be in on some of these guys, and some of them they're not going to be. But, it's looking good. And I think that, obviously where we're headed in terms of the recruiting pickup you saw 2 of the 3 big-time defensive line recruits at the game yesterday. So,
Hmm. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll
get
talk
off.
about that in depth. But yes, yes.
Mhm. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
no, you're
great.
right. We got a lot. We got a lot to look forward to, and as you mentioned perfectly, that going into the SEC, you're going to see a substantial amount of skills positions on the defensive side
Yeah.
really ramp up. You're going to see some really high caliber players, ones that can probably start day one, especially at a lot of programs. They'll be able to. We'll be getting those in droves, and that's the exciting part for me. I was and it's been mentioned in here a couple of times that Josh Pate was talking about Oklahoma on his
Yep.
show right not literally a few minutes ago. I was actually listening to him on my drive in because I knew he was going to talk about the spring game. And one thing he talked about before that, though, he was talking about Alabama, and he was talking about Caleb Downs going there and how good of a player he is and how he's being touted and compared to Mika Fitzpatrick, which supposedly in Saban's eyes is considered the best freshman he's ever coached, like of his coaching career, just regardless of position. He's the best freshman. And so hearing that, that makes me think about bringing in players like Jaden Hardy and then the ones we brought last year, the Peyton Bowens of the world, and then Makari Seatbelt Vickers. You bringing in safeties like that and secondary players like that that's ready to compete at the SEC level versus, those wide receivers that most likely are you're going to play against from other conferences, but you'll be playing them in the playoffs. So now you're better prepared. You're ready to stop those fast-paced offenses because you've got secondary players that are track athletes that are ready to shut down those receivers. And so that one was huge. Very, 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 very big pickup for me as we're rounding out, the defense. Don't worry, everybody. We've got defensive linemen coming down the line. So
Oh,
we'll go into some
watch out.
rumors at the same time. I've heard a couple of rumors around defensive linemen that have potentially given silence. I'm not going to give names, unfortunately, because I've been asked not to. So sorry, everybody. But I was told that I can float that out there that we've got some defensive linemen, like plural, that are basically saying they're here, ready to go. And I'm stoked. I'm stoked that you'll see us start to win that because if you go look at it, not to make this monologue too long, but I went through and was looking at the competition that, the ones that we're truly competing against for defensive linemen, your Alabamas, your
Sure.
Ohio States, your Georgias, Clemson's. I think Clemson's the only one that signed a defensive lineman so far. Everybody
Right.
else is still competing for big name players. And that should tell you something that we're now in the rank with the big boys. We're fighting with the big guys.
That's why we're
for
not
the
getting
elite.
these. Yeah, that's why all these early, commitments aren't coming in because
Right.
these are the guys that wait until June.
Yeah, they're waiting until June. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They're going to get their officials in,
Mhm.
and we're competing against the top dogs out there for them. And so, as
Correct.
long as we walk in there with the right guns, we've got it. But some of the players like Williams and Winery, I believe that he's a lock. That I haven't heard
I think he
any
is too.
confirmations, but I think that he is a
Right.
lock. We've done a very good job up there at Lee Summit North. His coach played at OU, so I'm hearing that we've got a pretty good pipeline going there, and we've seen some other players start to come down for a spring game and hang out. And so, yeah, we've got 3 potential 5-star defensive linemen that could hit. And then when you saw that picture, you mentioned it, Jason, of all those big boys standing with Bates. You saw
Yeah.
Nigel Smith. You
What
saw
a trio! Holy crap!
Yes, David Stone.
Oh.
So good old Stoney was there. And then you had a Joseph Jonier, who I did a video on earlier
Yep.
today.
That guy's
All
big
3 of
dude.
them.
Whoa.
They're huge.
They're as big
All
as
of them are big.
Bates. And you think about it, Bates a big dude, man. He's a big dude. He played in the NFL himself.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Sheesh. And they
He's
were
a
all
big boy.
big as he is them bigger. I'm going,
Yeah, looking at the picture, man, I was looking at that
seeing
like,
I love seeing that.
wow. And it's funny when you start seeing the size of the people, especially as you go through when we talk about the spring game. There's a lot of people to really talk about and how a lot of these players are out there. And so before we jump over into the next part, go ahead and hit some of these highs. Y'all are killing it in the comment section. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm going to go ahead and post all of these. Of course, yes, I was muted. You're right. Was muted. Couldn't hear me. Totally muted. No sound. Thank you all for that. It actually just warms my heart that y'all will gladly pick at me and have fun with this. I'm back. Yeah, I repeated all of it. and I'm glad you've got an awesomeness and a laugh. So, and Robert, you're right. That was a first down punt. I punted that on first down. So thank you all. Thank you all for
to
that.
the freaking sideline too, right?
Oh yeah, I botched this punt. This punt went 5 yards. It was a pure shank, baby. Yes. Good time. So no, but looking at the players that came in attendance, like I had a full list. I'm sorry, because of my travels for the weekend, I did not get a chance to make the usual list that I have, but I'm gonna put something together hopefully for Tuesday for you all. Talk about the list of players that were there. But Jason, we'll talk more about that right now. So I know some of the people that pulled up, and of course we had a whole bunch of 5-star defensive linemen. So the players that you all have been excited about. Let me see if I can grab this list that I had together. Give me just a second as I get my life together. All right, so your visitor list from the players that we found coming through, you had, of course, the signees pulled up. Samuel Masigo, you had Logan Howland, you had Cade McIntyre. He showed up. I want to see how big he is. I want to see him, Taylor Heim, and Taylor Wine next to each other. Those 3 players I want to see just what they physically look like, because all of them are like tall, and I think they're all stocky, but they're like lean, like super, like they're young person lean. So I was wanting to see them together, but I didn't see any pictures. I got to do some more searching and recon on that or whatnot. But you had Stone there. You had Bryant Westco, which was one of the wide receivers I talked about. That's a 5-star that looks like he's going to be coming here. Oh man, I'm stoked. He's fast. He's strong. He's a big wide receiver.
Dude.
Something you want.
Bro, I'm telling you, that's what. Then this is the beauty of SEC, is that you're going to have so many of these guys that look. I mean, you got to get used to some of them splitting, because they're gonna have to make room for each other when they, no matter what stars they were, if they don't show up. It's what we were talking about yesterday, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but with Jaden Gibson, you're gonna have to start catching footballs, bro.
Hey man. We'll talk about that in the spring game portion of it. So we'll go deeper into that. So let's talk about some of these visitors as well. You've got, like I said, Joseph, Jonah, Jonier. We got the picture of that or whatnot. I'll find it and post it up so you guys can see just the size of these gargantuous human beings. Looks like we've got another guest that's jumped in. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and bring him in right now. What up, Chris?
What's up,
Horns Down Podcast. What's going on?
Not much, man. What's up?
Hey, just holding on like a hubcap in the fast lane, man. We are glad to have you join us. Hopefully you didn't see the beginning of this, where I basically shanked the first down punt and kicked it like 5 yards, so it was almost worthless. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I was on mute the entire time I was talking, so never a good time.
I've done it. Hey man, I've done it. It happens.
You good, bro?
Yeah, it's always fun. But outside of that, I wanted to talk. We're talking about the players that were in attendance at the spring game. Did you get to make it to the spring game?
Yeah, I made it to the spring game. I was there.
Right, Jason, you were there too, right?
I didn't make it.
I knew you were planning on it.
Yeah, I got some family stuff going on, so it's couldn't get out of here. So
totally understood. And as I was asked by Della, I did not make it to the spring game. Unfortunately, I was in Tulsa enjoying soccer with my son, and his team ended up with second place. So it made it worth the trip, right? We got second place. It was a great time. So I cannot argue with it. But a lot of people jumping in here letting us know that they were in, which is solid. Everybody's talking about the wide receiver. That's a lock. Yes, we do have a lock when it comes to Brennan Thompson that I've heard. We're just waiting for the official word to come down the line. And
they were saying on here that he was on KREF, I guess. I didn't hear it yet. But they were saying
okay.
He pretty much committed on KREF, it sounded like.
Well, I'm assuming that we're going to get a graphic within the next 24 hours. And I'm going to have a video with highlights on him at that point. So, but no, Chris, talk to me. Let's pull this back to the initial topic, and then we're going to go forward right towards the spring game, because I know everybody's excited about talking about that. Want to talk about a little bit of rumors and people were there, but the Jaden Hardy pickup. What's your thoughts? How did you feel about that?
Big pickup, man. It's trending in the right direction. You're starting to finally get those those kind of guys that Grinch talked about, but now you're actually seeing that come to fruition. So you're getting those 6 foot DBs, those guys with length, those guys that are just top notch athletes. At that position, it looks like you're trading in the direction of getting more Key Lawrence's on the field and Billy Bowman's. You get what I'm saying? Like high caliber athletes that can cover the field and that are truly the epitome of a defensive back. Somebody who's not scared to mix it up and run and help and run support, but also just somebody who has the length, the athleticism, and just elite cover skills that you can put there in the backfield. One of the things I think not OSU. Wow. One of the things OSU has been known for.
Really?
I was talking to somebody about Boynton today. I was going back and forth with a guy about Mike Boynton being a good coach. But to the topic, though, what I was going to say is that simply this: OU has back in the day, OU has some really, really good DBs. I mean, we can name a lot of them. We haven't had that elite DB in quite some time. I mean, we've had some guys that we were that we felt really good about having those matchups and guys that we were like, hey, if when we're playing their like top-notch offenses or whatnot, like we had guys, Parnell Motley, Trey Brown here and there, but we haven't had just that elite lockdown defender in the backfield, in the secondary in quite some time. And I feel like we have some guys like that. I think Billy Bowman has all the potential. I think Keith Lawrence has all the potential. I think there's some other guys that that's going to mix it up in that secondary as well. I think Jesse Williams is another guy that I'm really big on. Woody Washington. I think Woody Washington still hasn't even really. We haven't seen how great he can be, but we just haven't been able to recruit those type of guys on campus. In quite some time.
I agree 100%. And that's kind of like the like I said, the thing that jumped out to me, and as me and Jason kind of talked about earlier, is that we're getting those SEC type of secondary players, and that the defensive focus of the SEC is showing here in our recruitment over the last two classes and this class now coming up. We're seeing a lot more of those elite players come in that's going to be prepared to stop those elite offensive players out there. So I'm stoked about that. Found the picture. I want to show this real quick as we talked about the size and sheer bigness of some of these players that we saw. Give me a moment. All right, let's share this right here. It pops up. So you got Nigel Smith, Ty Bates, Stoney, and then Joseph Jonah Ajone. Yeah, that's some big guys.
Yeah, look at them. They're bigger than freaking Bates. That's awesome. I love it.
They're big, and of course we're all excited about that. And so, but the list was thick that we had coming through. We had a lot of 24s in town. We had a lot of 25s in town. And so, no, we're getting there where the excitement it's brewing. So I don't want to hold this up too long. We got a lot to talk about around the actual spring game. Real quick, Dominic, thank you so much for the $5. I really appreciate that. That's going to go towards a new camera that I have been eyeballing and just waiting to come back in stock so that I can provide you that great content. But thank you. As Dominic asked the question, let's get these starters predictions now that we've seen everybody get some spring action. Not so fast, my friend. And I only say that for one reason. We had a lot of people out, especially on the offensive line.
Yeah.
And we've got some transfers that are going to be coming in that I think might steal a starting spot somewhere. Shh. But
still
we will.
Kids that hadn't made it from the high school classes too.
Yeah. I don't think any of them have a chance, honestly, of still in the starting spot day one. But I do see them getting into the rotation. But on the for real, I do see a transfer or two that may actually steal a spot. We'll talk about that in a minute. But don't worry, Dominic. We're definitely going to jump in and talk about starters and predictions here very, very soon today. So let's just go right into it, guys. Let's jump into the meat and potatoes, the thing that all y'all are here for. And we're going to spend the next 40 minutes diving into the spring game. So, Chris, I'm going to start with you. Give me one thing that jumped out to you initially when you watched the spring game, and then Jason, follow up with your one thing, and then we're going to kind of go around robin for a bit to kind of give everybody some good, diverse thoughts around what we saw this week. Because overall, I give it an A. I give it an A for what I saw overall. Chris, what you think?
So one thing that popped out to me at the spring game,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. I mean, I'll just say defense, but I mean, there's so many different things that we can break down.
Yeah.
Did the offense keep it very vanilla? Yes. Like I told Jason on my pod yesterday, I said, hey, look, it felt like you were watching the OSU game because you saw a lot of the same routes, a lot of the same formations out there that they ran against OSU. But like I told Jason straight up, like, look, man, the caliber of athlete out there, the size, the variety, it looked like, okay, we're trending in the right direction. This team is definitely going to improve, at least defensively.
Good point. Jason, give me your first thought. The first thing that jumped out, the biggest thing that jumped out to you.
Dasan McCullough is the biggest thing that jumped out to me, man. Sorry, that's it. Dasan McCullough. The guy was all over the field. He's in the backfield. He's chasing down running back sideline to sideline. This guy is as advertised and the kind of player that you can see why he was a freshman All-American. Let's just put it that way.
Darn. Hey, y'all both right. Because on the defensive side, if anything, you don't know what jumped out to me was, and it's going to stay on defense, but it was the batted balls. And let me explain why I say that.
Lacey in them.
The defenders kept their hands up. You know how many problems we've seen over the years with the OU defense of us having the opportunity to swat passes or even on the blitz be ready to knock down the pass and we didn't do it? We had our hands up the entire time on defense. I was impressed with
like
the way
been taught that before, you know.
It's even outside of that, it's like they actually listened. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, honestly, that's football 101 on the defensive side. If you're running in there, throw your hands up, knock passes down. The hardest thing is getting people to physically do it. They're listening and they're executing on it. And yeah, early, we knew the offensive line is pretty beat up. So we were seeing a lot of interchangeable pieces there as we're trying to figure that out. Most of the starters that are actually going to play did not play because they're, not healthy. But watching them bat down passes and show that they were being aggressive about breaking up the pass. Less about picking off the ball, more about, no, we don't want it off the line of scrimmage because then you have opportunity for pop-up interceptions there. That was dope. So, Chris, we're going to pass it back to you. Let's expand on your defensive take. Give me some more on that. Give me some more of what jumped out to you. And then Jason, once you go, we're going to jump in here to the listeners.
Well, I'm just going to say, man, look, first and foremost, coming into, and here's what I want people to understand. Offensively, I know there's some things that may have been frustrating or whatnot, but if you keep up with the tea leaves, if you follow Parker, if you follow Brandon, whoever you follow there, or if you're on the boards, like a lot of us are as well, the things that you've probably heard is that the offense has gotten the better of the defense early and a little bit often in camp. But what I saw is that the defense showed out. The defense came there and they set the edge. You saw guys getting in the backfield. You saw pass rush. You saw actual pass rush with some guys, and you saw guys just being run stuffers. But defensively, though, the secondary, like I told you on Ty's show, your show, my show, everybody's show, the secondary will be the better part of this defense. I think midway through the year. And I just think that, like I keep saying, that the caliber athlete you have there, Billy Bowman, a guy like Peyton Bowen, Reggie Pearson. I think Kendall Dolby has all the potential in the world to be a really legit corner. Key Lawrence is out there making plays. You got Harmon still out there. I mean, you have a lot of guys and you're really deep. I feel as far as in that secondary, where if somebody's not getting the job done, you're not having to stick with this guy or that guy. You can go get things done. I just felt really good about it. I felt like the awareness, the understanding of the system, guys weren't really thinking all that much. They were just really reacting. Getting to see a guy like Justin Harrington be able to call, hey, look, he's talking, he's calling out plays, he's understanding what's going on, what is the offense showing me, all the rest of this stuff, the player recognition, the talking, switching on those outside routes, showing, hey, this guy's going inside or whatnot. It felt like a well-oiled machine. Even there were times where it felt like, damn, okay, they don't know the call, but you see guys just jumping, running, getting in position, and they're still in the right places,
Yep.
So it just felt really good what you saw out there. Tackling, obviously, guys are swarming to the ball. It just felt good. I felt really good about the defense, being able to get some interceptions, being able to get hands on balls. Just the all overall activity out there, it was definitely encouraging. Like I said, if I left there saying anything, it was that I was encouraged that this team is improving and trending in the right direction. But defensively, man, it just felt different. And it feels like I'm not going to necessarily say that you have the SEC caliber of defense. I'm talking about like the top tier of the SEC. But I will say, as far as the Big 12, this feels like this is going to be one of the better defenses we've had in years.
Hey, spot on, Jason. Give me some feelings on that. Everybody's, of course, agreeing with you right here. McCullough was everywhere. I'm seeing a bunch of points on here. McCullough. Like, it's just everywhere, man.
Yeah, listen,
everywhere.
Part of what I was saying was what you see on Twitter, what you saw on my show last night, what we saw on whenever I was on Chris's show yesterday. I mean, listen, this kid is definitely, there's other guys I saw too. And I mean, one of them was, we talked about this on Chris's show, Rondell Bothroyd, collapsing that line like that. You've got them talking about it in here. What was it? Man, there's a lot of guys that really just looked at. Kanak was looking good calling the plays. You saw, Kip Lewis. I was glad to see him do what he did. We talked about that a lot. The fact that you've got some of these guys that we've really been waiting to step up and see what they were going to do.
Yeah, no, for real.
Yeah, and that's just something that you needed that. You've needed that. And the biggest thing that I think that I saw out of the whole defense, if we're talking just the entire effort of the defense, was that they looked like they knew what they were doing. They looked like they weren't wondering if they were doing the right thing or, and being timid about it. They were flying around to the football and knowing that they were in their assignment that they were supposed to be in. That's 1,000% difference than what we saw a lot of times last year, and it cost them a lot of football games in the crunch time when you just weren't in the right position to make a play, even some of the better players. And that didn't look like it was the case yesterday. I mean, they blew up that first play, which was going to be a double pass, and they blew the play up.
At the beginning, they started off with blowing up.
From that moment on, they looked – and the thing is the good news is that the offense did rebound a little bit, and they had to like grind out some touchdowns on a couple of those. You know what I mean? And so this is a good thing. I don't think that there's a way that you're going to have the kind of game that you probably want to see Dylan Gabriel have against somebody else. But against a defense like this, I definitely think that they're ready for the Big 12. And I think that they're trending towards being ready for the SEC. They're not SEC ready yet, but they're getting there.
Yeah, and looking at this and kind of answering Matt's question here, they looked healthy, they looked good, and the way we were rotating, we saw a little bit of everybody. And I think that's the one thing that really jumped out to me too about the defense on their execution is not only, like you mentioned, Jason, they looked like they knew what they were doing, just like you were talking about, Chris, how it felt like a real defense on the field. They just looked like they were executing. There weren't really any busted, blown plays. Like, there were moments they got beat, and that's going to happen, but they were prepared for it. Especially once you start adding a little complexity into our offense. The defense was ready. Let's keep it real. A spring game is really a glorified practice for the fans, and you don't really show everything.
These plays all day. Yeah, or they've
right, and they're not playing as hard, but they're playing really hard. You can tell they were trying to win that, and I like the competitive spirit we got out of that. Oh. And then seeing Peyton Bowen get that interception, ooh boy, I almost lost my mind because Andrew Anthony's fast.
Yeah.
Oh, Peyton Bowen, you can put him as a freshman, man to man, with an experienced wide receiver, and he's prepared to keep up. He's prepared, knowing what's going to happen, and he looked for the ball. It's not something we're used to. Yes. We're used to seeing this where they run into him and then they run into the wide receiver and get the pass interference.
Well, no. Well, the thing about it is that if you look at, because like I told Jason, I was right there in that area. I was like, he sat on top of that route the entire time. As soon as that ball went up, he countered old boy's speed by just sitting on top of the route. Mm-hmm. And he made a play on the ball that was just like, hey, that
little speed too, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I'm not saying he's not fast. I'm just saying, like, he sat on top of that route. He's just like he already knew what was coming. He sat on that route perfectly. Then he made a play on the ball because I mean the catch itself. I mean, it speaks for itself. So no, I mean like I said, man, I'm really impressed. They have a lot of talent. If they're going to bring him along slowly, then I want to see what that's going to be like. And I think that it's going to be battles all over that secondary because when RSJ gets back, you're still thinking
Jaden Rowe,
Jaden Rowe, guys like that. I mean, come on, man. I mean, and if Wagner is as good as advertised as everybody says he is, him and Vickers. I mean, you're gonna see those guys.
They look good too. I mean, they both look good yesterday too, bro. And
Seabell looked really good in coverage too. Like I was thinking that Vickers was gonna end up at the safety spot, and when I watched all of that, I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Our entire secondary can just play safety or corner. Like they're all good in coverage. Like all of them. I'm like,
I told you guys he locked everybody up in San Antonio, bro. He locked that whole side of the field down, and that's what he was doing yesterday too.
But I think that guys like that. That's the beauty of it is that hopefully we're putting guys in the draft. And I'm talking about getting drafted. They go undrafted. That's good too. But still,
we've had a few.
What I mean by that is they go undrafted and get picked up. But essentially, what I'm saying is this right here. Hopefully, when these guys phase out, like a Key Lawrence or Woody Washington or West of that stuff, it kind of makes it's apparent who's going to be at these positions. And then do I flip if Billy Bowman jumps early this year, and then you have Woody, and then you have Key, and all of them are leaving. Okay, well, do we just slide Vickers back there at one of those safety spots with Bowen, and then do we go ahead and just jump Wagner up, and keep Dolby on the other side? What do we do with Gentry? It's a lot that you're
great problem to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great problem. Yeah. And that's what a great problem to have. That's what Jason and I talked about, as well. And Jason had a great point about it as far as Sooner fans, and I know I'm guilty of it as well. And I was glad he pointed it out, but Sooner fans have to embrace this new style or this new philosophy of recruiting and get used to it again because it's foreign. Because you're stacking classes now opposed to just taking the cream of the crop this year and then every other year you're getting, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's different now having
load up on them.
That type of talent on the field,
And there's a lot of it. And there's a lot of it when you look at that secondary right now. Like Vickers was good. Like I said, he did good in coverage as well as
Woody was good too, Yeah,
the vets were solid too. I'm just glad that we got to see a lot of the young guys too.
Right.
Pearson, Reggie the Hammer did exactly what I expected, and they were a lot of hits. I think he got like 4 straight big hits.
Like that guy.
Jesus, like really? Is like that's what we're gonna do? So we're just gonna go out there. We're gonna take out our own running backs. Kidding, but at the same time, dude, he was hitting. And I'm like, you can tell he's one of those guys that will hit and it doesn't hurt him when he hits. He just wants to keep doing it over and over. And so, yeah, it was lovely. Chef's kiss seeing him out there in coverage as well as going out there hitting the backs, getting to the holes and trying to stop people from running through. It was awesome. And we'll talk about the running back. We'll talk about the offensive side in a bit and go to the crown jewel, of course, of the class. But I still want to stick to the defense. Linebackers. So I saw Kobe McKenzie go out there and make a couple plays. Like I said, Kanik was out there fantastic and masterfully running things. Danny looked like he had some command out there as well. He was doing his thing.
Looked like himself. Yeah.
Looked like himself. Kip Lewis. He's supposed to wait. He looked small. But he's not small, but he looks small compared to everybody else, which is wild to me. Like Phil Picciotti looked huge, as he always does.
Oh yeah.
Kanik looks like he's put on an additional 20 pounds of just muscle. But everybody looked huge. And then like I'm like, but Kip came in like at like 222, almost 230. Like he's sizey. Right. Kobe McKenzie was big. What's wild to me is when you go through those group of people, then you look at Harrington as well as McCullough and how big they are. Like our defense is huge. Like size wise, like they're all tall, 6'2" to 6'5", and they're like stocky guys. Have we ever had a defense like that? Besides, like in the early 2000s in the Roy Williams era?
While, man.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Like I can't think of like mid 2000s anything like linebacker to secondary that were just like that huge. Like they're big human beings. I'm excited about that. Talk to me, Jason. Linebackers, when you saw them running around.
Again, that was where you saw all of them do their thing. They got. You're always impressed with Stutzman. I mean, I think that he's just a dog. That guy just gets around, does his thing. I mean, you just want him to see what he's doing. I was happy to see what Kanak was doing too. But I think Kobe McKenzie probably showed me more than anybody in the linebackers. And that's a good thing to have because he's going to push Kanak for some playing time. And I think that's something that we see coming. One of my guys that he's going to be on the shows with me a little bit coming up probably in the next few weeks for sure, has been talking about it a lot. And Chris, his name's Chris also, but he was saying the same thing. He goes, you can see Kobe kind of really pressing for this position. And making sure that even if he's not the starter, whoever is the starter, there's some good competition there. And that's good because iron sharpening iron. But you saw Kanak look good, but I was more impressed probably with anybody as far as the linebackers were concerned with McKenzie. Kobe, I thought he looked really good. And then the other thing, I mean, like I said, I mean, I don't want to discount what, I mean, I've said his name a couple of times, but Rondell Bothroyd is my
let's go to defensive line here. Let's jump into
game record, right?
Game record.
And you've got a bunch of those dudes doing that stuff. And so to me, you had Lacey batting down passes. And I mean, you were talking about that earlier. I mean, that's
Jonah Lualu.
Oh, it's just it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see. And I mean, of course, it kind of makes your offense look not great. But like I said, I feel like when you had to piece together some of the offensive line, I was reading something earlier. They were talking about that they basically have 6 healthy offensive linemen right now. You got a couple of them are freshmen, and they're having to get in there and go up against what a defensive line that last year it was inexperienced and didn't get a lot of push. This year there's a lot of experience there, and they were getting pushed. So, when you start talking about what's going on in that defensive front, but between the down linemen and the linebackers, it's night and day different. That's all I could say, really. It's just night and day different. And obviously, this is early in the year. They should be ahead of the offense.
Fair point. Fair.
This is a lot better than they look. This is not the same thing as what we saw a year ago. That's all I'm saying.
No, yeah, it's completely different animal. And I thought that Kip came in bigger than that, so thank you guys for correcting me on that one. I could have sworn that he came in with some more size, but I digress on that. He's still a lot bigger. He's big. He was bigger than I thought when he came in, but compared to everybody else, he still looked like, I'm like, dude, you really do look small. But Chris, defensive line, man, Devon Sears, I saw him making some headway through the hole, and I had a few people push back on me about him coming in, and I saw what he did against Baylor. At Texas State, and seeing him come here and make some forces. Chris, man, defensive line, man, how you feeling?
I feel pretty good. I feel like we're gonna have a lot of activity there. I feel interior. I'm not gonna say we had that guy because I'm still waiting for Isaiah Coe. Praise God that he only had like a cramp or whatever when he went down.
Yeah. I was so glad when I saw him go back in. I was like,
but no, I'm waiting for Isaiah Coe to be that guy to step up in the room and be that guy. I want Kelly to be a guy again this year, but I need for him. But hey, Halton looked really good out there. Like what I saw from Sears, I figured Sears would be a guy to be champing at the bits to get out there on the field. I mean, coming from Texas State, Sears. I said Sears, right?
Yeah. Devon Sears.
Yeah, I figured that Sears would be a guy to be champing on the bits because he can just he's just going under the radar. I'm really excited about I say Ashton Higgins, but Ashton Sanders, I believe. I'm excited about them all. I thought the defensive line played really well. PJ, excuse me, PJ. I'm getting everybody's name wrong today, but PJ,
Sunday night,
PJ looked
tired,
really
cool.
good out there as well. I was impressed with what we saw. Still, I'm gonna still stay with Jason on this right here. I think Down should move inside. I think that it would benefit him. But
I think
as far as what I saw yesterday, I was definitely encouraged and definitely impressed. And one more thing, let me just jump back real quick. I don't care how small the kid is or whatever the issue is. I know he has to gain weight. When that kid's on the field, he makes plays. Kip Lewis,
good.
He's
good.
A baller, man. He's a gamer. And then one more point. Like I've said time and time again, one of the things that you have to think about when it comes, this is where you have to pretty much draw the line in the sand, or when you're comparing McKenzie and Kennick. Okay, Kennick is an athlete playing that position, and he's still learning that position. But McKenzie has always been a linebacker from day one when we started recruiting him, when we got his commitment initially with Odom. That guy right there is a football junkie, has a high football IQ, and he doesn't talk. He just doesn't talk a good talk. He actually walks it as well. So I think that's what you kind of have to realize, is that at some point that's going to have to improve. What I'm excited about, though, is that it seems to me that you're going to have and shout out to Aguebo. I hope he balls out down there at Houston. But to me, and now I think that you're going to have better linebacker play on the other side, on the opposite side of Stutzman. Now you're going to have guys taking better pursuit angles and all the rest of that. And I'm not trying to dog or anything like that. I'm just saying you got players that one is truly learning this position, and that's what he's going to play. But then you have one that's always played that position, and they're going to have a better understanding of what it takes to be, out there, especially in the inside.
Okay, and that's good. That's good. Got a question in here that I think that's really good. That everybody should jump on. Jason, I'll let you go first. Who do you think is going to be the alpha, the head honcho, the leader on the defensive side? Who's the one that's owning the defense?
Are you going to throw this one at me first? I said it was a great question. I didn't say I wanted it first.
I want you to answer it first because you said it was a great question. Go ahead and give me your thoughts.
It is a great question. I love it, Clem. I think there's a couple. I'm going to preface this, so I think there's a couple, because we were just talking about Pearson. I mean, the guy's like he's like he got shot out of a rocket launcher, to go hit people. And then Bothroyd too, I think. But I still think you got Deshaun McCullough. I don't know. I mean, he just shows a different type of deal as a dog. I mean, he's just a dog. He's going to get and be on every play, it seems like. I think that you got a guy like Bothroyd. Yeah, man. I mean, that's a big, nasty defensive lineman, game record type of dude, plays with an attitude. But I think that when you kind of have one at every level, which is a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got one at the safety position. You got one, Deshaun can, the cheetah kind of bounces back and forth from safety and linebacker, it seems like. But then, and you've got those nasty dog-like dudes right down there on the freaking defensive line too, which is what they need. But I guess if you make me pick one, I got to go with Pearson. Just got to go with Pearson right now.
Chris?
Alpha male?
Damn. Give me your pick, and then you can give me your explanation after, just like Jason did. I know, right? Putting y'all on the spot. Come on now.
Dirty.
You're welcome.
Don't make that face.
I don't know if we got it like a.
I see it. Yeah. It's hard. So, all right, I'll give you a minute to think about it.
I would say my hope would be that it
would No. We don't want to hope.
Okay.
Who you think gonna take it?
I'm gonna say either Stutzman or Woody gets a little bit out of his comfort zone and kind of steps into that role. Because I've heard Woody kind of talk a lot more than what, in my opinion, he has in the past. Not just on the videos that OU drops, but just, a little bit more. So Hopefully, but I don't know, man. I don't know if we got that. But I think Stutzman, if it's anybody, it's Stutzman to me because he's the most vocal. I mean, he has
But
that.
like,
He has
bro,
that
like
switch
alpha
that
dogs are like those nasty dudes that they don't necessarily. I mean, man.
So
Stutzman definitely fits that role, though. By the way,
I mean, if you're gonna give me one, I'll give you one at all three, and I'm gonna tell you the final one that I think is gonna be. If you go secondary, is Pearson, 100% hands down. Dude's built to be the vocal guy and the a-hole all at the same time. He's the dude. He's that dude. He's gonna be in everybody's face. All of that. It seems like Stutzman has stepped up to do the same thing in the linebacker corps, and I can see him helping lead all of that. If you're gonna go defensive line, it's got to be Bothroyd. And listening to him talk, yeah, it feels like he's that dude that's going to just push everybody around. And so if I have to pick one out of the entire piece, I think I'm going to go with Bothroyd. I think that him walking in, not only with the experience, you can tell he's a vocal dude. And he's someone that it seems like people gravitate to. And he puts out high praise about his teammates. And I love guys like that. Like PJ is going to be the silent one. He's going to be the one. He's going to be the silent leader, lead by example, go out there and just get her done. Just super hyper competitive, but never really talk. But I think Bothroyd's probably the guy that's going to be that big time alpha. So great question, Clem. I appreciate that 100%.
Yeah, that was a great question. Great question.
Let's move on to the offensive side. We've got about 20 minutes ish. I want to talk about that offense, man. So we all know the offensive line was definitely beat up. It was piecemeal because of injuries, surgeries, and stuff in preparation for the summer, and we'll be fine. Of course, I saw Barnes was suited up. He didn't play, but he was dressed as if he was like potentially going to. I don't understand that. I guess aesthetically, just to make him happy. I don't know why you would, especially after him having surgery. You may as well just have him kind of chill and enjoy.
It's kind of one of the things when college coaches are kind of wired differently. If you're gonna be on the sideline, suit up.
Yeah,
so, I mean, outside of like you saw the Omega, how you say his name?
Megwa, Emeka Megwa.
Yeah. Now he was. I mean, he had his like pants and stuff on or whatnot, but you saw him. You saw Hester. You saw Barnes and Hester and stuff like that. They had their full pads and gear on and stuff like that. If you're able to, I mean, that's just some weird. It's just a weird college thing.
I can see that. It's just I know it's just weird. It's just weird. Like why are you dressed when we know you had surgery on your foot? You know, Coach talked about you had the toe surgery to fix something from high school. You'll be back before by spring easily, but just the fact, I mean, fall camp, but just the fact that you're just out there, just hanging out in a jersey and your helmet in your hands, like. I guess spring game aesthetics. We'll go with it. And Kim pointed this out. Thank you so much. He had a boot on.
He did.
But why pads and pants and all? Anyway, beard, mustache. We'll go past that. But offensively, now, of course, the offense started off slow, but then it picked up. Dylan Gabriel 3 touchdowns on like 3 straight possessions. Midway to get the score back, coming close. You saw some breakout catches. You saw Jackson Arnold. Let's talk about those quarterbacks. Let's talk about the crown jewel, Jackson Arnold. How'd y'all feel about him putting that ball on a rope to Gavin Freeman for that touchdown? Jason, lead the way.
Yeah, listen, I thought he was good. I think that he looked like a freshman at times, and you would expect that, particularly like we said, the defense came out, and I mean they came out and blew up a play right away. They were going to let you know that it was going to be tough. Now, when you start looking at, was it perfect on offense? No. But, and he had that nice long run that it may not have went for a touchdown in a game. It would have went for 30 or 40 yards anyway. You know what I mean? So it looked like it was going to be good there. I think that at times he looked like a freshman. And I think that at times, getting the balls batted down, things like that, he took some coverage sacks that we don't want to see him doing that, which is, Chris talked about that yesterday. It's one of the deals where you got sick of seeing Dylan do it last year. Mm-hmm. Where he would take a coverage sack or just holding on to the ball too long. And I think that, but you kind of expect it out of a freshman. Now we want it to stop sooner than later, but I think that you definitely saw that. But yeah, and I'm not going to put on rose-colored glasses. I believe that this is a better football team than we had at this time last year. I think that everything points to that. Along the offensive line, they're a little banged up right now, but they're going to be they should be healthy by the time we get started, on the fall. So I'm excited about the way both of the quarterbacks play, though. Honestly, I think that it's not a bad thing for them to have to kind of grind it out before they can get some touchdowns and stuff. In those first few series, the defense owned them,
Yeah.
But to come back and throw 3 touchdowns, that's not a bad thing.
Not at all.
For Dylan had 3, and then you had him come in and get that. Jackson came in and got the other one. I mean, look, man, I was happy with it. I really was.
Chris, what's your feelings on the quarterback play? I mean, of course, you had 4 quarterbacks play, so if you want to talk about any of the others, feel free to. But no, how'd you feel about the quarterback play?
No, here's what I'll say about Jackson Arnold. I felt that out of all the freshmen, and I'm gonna take the rose-colored glasses, the OU hat off, all of that stuff, and I'm just gonna say, out of all the freshman quarterbacks that I've seen, the freshman 5-star quarterbacks, most poised to step right in and possibly, make something happen. He can kill you with both ways. I think that a lot of those 5-star quarterbacks we're talking about, like a Nico, they can do that possibly, as far as using their legs to kind of get them into a rhythm, and then bubble screens, different things like that. I think that I don't know who's really the most talented out of there. I know Ward speak for themselves, but I think that as far as what I saw, it felt like he was the most poised. He had the most command of the offense. Obviously, we saw the strike to Gavin Freeman whenever they ran ones, to kind of towards the end of the game as well. I just think that he looked the most poised out there, but definitely a lot of things to work on. But I think we got us a good one. And I think that you feel confident that a 2022 Texas game doesn't happen again. I think that they won't be scared to pull the trigger with him. Like I told Jason, I think that he is, and Drew, don't kill me for saying this, but I think he is leaps and bounds ahead of where Evers was this time last year. And as a freshman. So definitely excited about what I saw with him. Going to Dylan Gabriel looked loose. He looked he looked faster, looked healthier, looked like he has his confidence back. My only thing with him is just some of the mechanics, man. Got to be able to hit those guys in stride. I know a lot of people are talking about Gibson with the drop, and I get it. He should catch that.
3 drops, bro.
I get that, but I'm talking about just this one specifically. That one touchdown, that to me, that's not a bullet. That's a lob over the shoulder catch. I'm just saying. I mean, he had that guy wide open. You could have threw that. Any other quarterbacks in the past would have threw that same exact pass. That would have threw a lob instead of just trying to throw a dart behind the guy. So I still think there's some decision making things. Obviously, Stogner, some of the other tight ends over the middle, different things like that. I think Dylan Gabriel is still kind of, you don't want to say same old, but you still see some of those things that happened last year kind of creeping up. So you kind of have to be, I forgot who said it in the comments, but a little bit apprehensive or just a little bit reluctant to say, yeah, this offense has a chance to be really explosive. Obviously, like I said, numbers don't lie, but he's got to be efficient this year for me. And I don't mean, he was efficient all the way up to like the Baylor game, all the way up to, like West Virginia and stuff. But my thing is, I just want him to be more clutch and be better under pressure. But I don't know. This is just,
I didn't blame the Baylor game on him is my question. When they had they had 2 tip passes. One of them, Braden Willis is getting held.
Yeah.
And they still had chances to win the game down at the end. That was in the first half. I don't want to put that on that. The bottom line is you got to do. There's a lot to expect from him, and this is another year in the system, so you would expect him to take a step forward with leadership. But I'm still not going to be one sitting here freaking filling these guys full of holes. I'm not doing it. Not with Jeff Lebby, and I'm not doing it with Dylan Gabriel either. Because I don't think that you can expect Jackson Arnold to come in and start right now.
You can't. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that my expectation for Dylan Gabriel is through the roof. I want him to be through the roof.
But if you go through the roof yesterday, what is that? What does our defense look like? Are we looking?
I know. But I think I'm more along the lines of just nitpicking some particular things that I saw. From last season. Some of the things that hurt us. I'm not saying that he needed to go out there and have. I mean, Baker and Collar didn't have the greatest spring games. Baker was getting picked off. Got picked off a couple of times, and Collar didn't look great in his spring game. But what I'm saying is just fixing some of those mechanical issues and being able to hit guys. Not just like he hit Sawchuk on a rope. I mean, you want to see him when those plays are breaking, especially when he's running to the left. He's a left-handed quarterback. You want to see him not overthrow Bunkley running across the field. You want to see him hit right in stride. So that's kind of what more along the lines of what I'm talking about.
Let me ask this question when it comes to the quarterbacks, and let me a statement, and then I got a question with that. Yeah. First off, Jackson Arnold. I think he looked like a freshman. And you're right, Chris. To me, I think he did look like the more comfortable quarterback in the system. And the only reason why I say that is because when he broke off that run for that touchdown that got called back because he was touched, if they were actually tackling him, that was a touchdown. Because I don't think anybody was going to actually be able to pull him down on that run. I think he'd have been a lot more elusive. You could see in his mind that he was like, oh no, I'm a dip on y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and cut here, and I'm gone.
Afraid to do it. I like that part.
And that to me, he's a runner. Same thing with Dylan Gabriel. If you notice, he started to run those RPOs and he started to run the ball, and he felt more comfortable running the ball. And I think his comfort in running outside of like the Nebraska game when he dipped for 67 something yards for the touchdown, he knows that he's got somebody behind him if he gets dirty hit again by TCU. So that made me feel comfortable. That was the one thing. Yeah. But when we go into these opportunities and stuff. Let me ask you both this question. That pass, there was two passes that happened. The Jaden Gibson pass where you were talking about, Chris, it should have been more of a lob towards a touchdown rather than kind of throwing it to him to catch it. Do you think that was Dylan Gabriel misfire? Or do you think it was kind of a fear in throwing it to Jaden Gibson in that situation? And I asked that question because he's thrown that ball over the shoulder perfectly to Gibson before, and what happened? He dropped it.
Yeah.
And that one was a touchdown too. And I can't remember what game it was.
On the fourth down play too. I mean, he didn't.
That's what I mean. That was the drop that Chris was talking about. If you lobbed it a little bit in front of him, he probably could have caught it in stride and kept going. But it felt like there was hesitant. It felt like some hesitancy with Gibson in that game. Now, the Buckley pass he threw in the back of the end zone, if you have Nick Anderson or Jaden Gibson back there or Stogner, a tall guy, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
It felt like he was trying to get it over our 6'4", 6'5" cheetahs. and it just didn't. I mean, you got to kind of throw it high so they don't intercept it. It seemed like if he had one of the tall guys back there on that back of that end zone, that's a touchdown. And I think you would normally draw it up to have a Gibson run back there or Nick Anderson run back there because of their size. But it felt like, and I'm asking this sincerely, do y'all think that there's a little hesitancy when it comes to the throws to Jaden Gibson? Because we all talking about it in here. We're talking about the drops. I wouldn't necessarily
say there's hesitancy. I just think that I'll put it like this. Here's this right here, okay? I'm just going to say this. I'm going to break away from your little question. I mean, not from your little question, but from your question. And I'm gonna answer it this way, okay?
Okay. You ain't gotta call it little though, man.
It's on Gibson to reach his potential. It's not on anybody else. It's on him. He's gonna have to figure it out. They gave him chances last year. That's the only reason why Freeman played over him. Obviously, they had some packages for Freeman last year, anyways. But that's the only reason why Freeman was really on the field. Hell, Freeman was on the field with Drake Stoops a lot as well. So it wasn't just like he was coming in to spell Stoops. The problem for Gibson is it's mental. He's had some off the field issues. We'll just say that and keep it there. But Gibson. It's on Gibson, man. I mean, nobody else can really make him go out there. Nobody else can truly motivate him like he can motivate himself.
That's fair.
I mean, this is a spring game. What do you got to be so worried about? It's a freaking spring game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go freaking catch the football. I mean, I get it. Once you get in that spot where you feel like you're pressing, it's hard to stop pressing, right? Yeah. It's going to be hard to stop pressing. And I see that. But you think about last year when he had at least a couple of balls that are touchdowns.
He
And
had
I
a
think Hank's right.
75-yard touchdown, in the spring game, didn't he? Or 80-something yard? He dipped.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, you got speed like that, size like that, get your hands on it. And it seems like he tries to catch the ball with his body a lot, and that's not good. And particularly when you're, you get those alligator arms and stuff like that because you think you're about to get popped. And that could be part of it too. That could be part of it too. But my feeling is that at this point now, I mean, how many more chances are they going to give you? Because you got to think about it. If Brennan Thomas is coming in, right, and then you've got Anthony, and I mean, you still have the kids that aren't there yet in Petaway and
Keon Brown.
Keon Brown. I mean, how many opportunities are you going to get before you drop another football? I mean, come on, bro. You need to make those catches, and there's 3 of them that he dropped yesterday. 3.
Yeah, 3 key ones too. He did good in the last spring game, which was what's crazy is he jumped out and I was like, okay, Jane Gibson's going to be legit. He's going to do some things, and then like you said, he's just not pulling those in. Chris, I'm gonna pass this back to you. I know you have a statement.
I wanted to say something on that, and this was on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't get it out. Look, I don't know what Jane Gibson's ceiling is.
Right.
But if this continues, I'm just gonna say I know his floor because we've seen it before. Jeffrey Mead was a 6'5" wide receiver coming out of Tulsa Union. Had a little bit of hype about him. A lot of people thought he was going to be able to go and do some things, especially having that size and being a 6'5" wide receiver. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, we've seen this before. A.D. Miller, guys like that who came in with
the yips or something, man. It's the yips, I think.
I don't know, man. I just you might be right. It may have been since that catch that he dropped that was a touchdown and he got hit and it's just never been the same since. But man, it's weird, and a combination from him and then you have Nick Anderson and J.J. Hester that have health issues. Both 6'3", 6'4" wide receivers that, I mean, we have a huge set of receivers that, so if you're asking a question about opportunities, it's just getting our receivers healthy and getting them to catch the ball in stride or just catching it in general on key plays. Now, you're getting them from Stoops. You're getting them from Gavin Freeman. You're getting them from your slot guys. I think LV got himself one as well. You're seeing that from those. It's like they're the possession receivers. Even though they're supposed to be the fast ones that get out there and catch some deep passes, you're getting, and Anthony got himself a nice catch on the outside. You started to see that from them. Farouk got his touchdown. Mm-hmm. You saw Blake Smith catch it with a club on his hand. Like he had one hand.
I was going to say that about the touch stuff. I mean, DG had to put a little touch on that ball. You can't fire that in there and expect him to catch that.
Exactly. And then we're going to segue from those wide receivers to this tight end room. I know that is one place that we run into issues, but seeing the 2 preferred walk-ons, oh my God. Blake Smith and then Josh Fanuel, the former basketball player that didn't even play college football.
I was just about to say, hey, man, Fanuel looks like a good athlete out there at tight end. I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to kind of find himself a role, but I will say this right here. Caden Helms, I'm still excited about him. Like I said, I think he's Grant Calcaterra 2.0. That's my opinion. But I also, when I saw Levin, I was like, he's in shape. The kid's in shape now. Like that's not just that, high school kind of, baby fat kind of, hey, look, I'm just a mature kid from my age. Like, no, like he's starting, you're seeing the Smitty effect. And I was thinking to myself, man, I'm excited to see all of them get back out there. And I want to see what he's added to his game. Is he going to be more of a pass catcher as well? Stockner is your guy, obviously. But a guy like Fanuel, I think that if he gets in there with Smitty and puts on some more weight, I think that he could be somebody that could sneak in there. I think Blake Smith as well. I think those are guys that don't mind mixing it up. And especially how you're wanting to use them anyways, you're not going in there trying to make them out to be some, just, oh my gosh, they're Bowers or anything like that. You just need, with those heavy sets, you need guys that are willing to throw their weight around and throw their bodies in there and get active. So I liked it. I liked the Faneuil kid. I thought he looked good out there. He looks like a good athlete, man.
Jason, what was your feelings on those tight ends? Because
Man, I
watching
was excited
Faneuil,
about him.
watching Blake make
Oh,
those
man.
catches, whew, and then
But
Stogner
it's
got
something you're a
his.
little concerned about, right? I mean, it's something that
Yeah.
you were worried about coming in. So because there's just not a lot of depth there. And you haven't seen a huge get in recruiting so far at that position. But I think that Stogner proved that he's going to be very important. But it also looks like you got a couple other guys that could contribute. And it's good that they're going to be with Stogner and kind of learn the game from him, it feels like to me. Because him being a veteran like that. So I do feel like I think we got, I mean, obviously we think we got an amazing one on the way. That we should get a commitment from coming up. But I mean, yeah, you got to be a little concerned about the depth coming into this, and to see those guys that you look at as projects kind of come through and look like they can get it done. I mean, that's a good surprise to have, right?
I 100% agree. That's what you want. You want some of these walk-ons to turn into potential NFL draft picks. That's really what you want. And watching Faneuil do his thing. Like, I mean, he's an undersized big man in basketball, and so he's kind of like the Antonio Gates type, the Rico Gathers that can come in. It's athletic enough and strong enough. They're strong enough to block because they're an undersized big man. So they're used to battling 7-footers that are, almost 300 pounds, if not 300 pounds, at least in the like 250, 300 range. So they can block linebackers and stuff, but they're also athletic enough to go out there and make those catches. They can catch the ball. They can run. They can jump. They can do all of that. So getting players like that and being able to fill those gaps. And then, of course, when McIntyre shows up and then we get healthy, Llewellyn and Helms or whatnot, we're gonna be nice at the tight end spot. And that was a spot of concern. We were a little worried about the way that our health was in that position, similar to offensive line. And so, but besides that, seeing Blake do that and seeing Faneuil do his thing, especially going to him twice in a row and it working the second time, I'm pretty excited about that. All right, running backs. We talk a little bit about running backs. I think the biggest thing is, and I love that you've got supporters that don't know much about sports, but they're to support you. That's beautiful, Jason. Good job. We appreciate you, Jennifer, for you pulling up.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Question on this, though, is going to be the running back position. So, of course, Barnes was out. We saw a little Sawchuk, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't expect, because I kind of feel like his Florida State performance kind of has it grandfathered in next to Barnes, because you didn't need to see Barnes. You've seen him all year last year. You knew what he's capable of. You just got to get him healthy and then get him on the field. And I think Sawchuk's kind of in a similar situation, but besides seeing him, you saw some Tyree Walker. God, he's a little bowling ball.
Dude, Tyree looked good. He looked real good.
Smothers and Hicks. All right, out of those three, who jumped out the most to you? Jason, lead the way.
I think Tyree did, but I think he also ran with the ones more. So it was, where you've got some of that. I think that has something to do with it. Now, Gavin Sawchuk, yes, I think that he did great. But I mean, if we're talking about the three that were, Smothers, and I think that he looks good, and I know that Chris really loves Hicks, so and I think he does look the part as well. But I think that Tyree has shown that he can run between the tackles, even at a time yesterday where he wasn't getting a whole lot of room to run. But he ran hard. He got some hard yards and stuff, and so I was impressed with him.
Chris, who got you?
As much as I would love to say Hicks, I would probably say Smothers. Smothers had a really, really nice run during the game. I'll say this right here. I think Smothers is really electric. Jason, if I'm correct, I think yesterday I told you that I think that Hollywood and Hicks, I get Kennedy Brooks, Trey Sermon 2.0 vibes from them. I feel like they can be that good.
Yeah,
together, and I feel like they complement each other really well. So I really like what you have. As far as Tyree, for me, I think Tyree showed me that if Marcus Majors is not healthy, if Marcus Majors transfers for some reason, that he can fill in that role for him. And because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care if he's healthy or not. There's no way that you can keep Sawchuk and Barnes off the field this year.
No, of
You know,
course
I
not.
think they eat up a lot of snaps. That's the reason why, like, I wish Levy would go to kind of he would have like some split back sets, but at the same time, it is what it is. But my whole thing with it is I just don't see how, you know, he gets a large amount of snaps, especially with those two champing at the bits, and what we know that um excuse me, what we know that Sawchuk can be. Because I don't want Sawchuk to come in and be Eric Gray 1.0 with Lincoln Riley, you know, where you kind of know that, yeah, he can run, but we're going to use him in the passing game as well. You know, I want to see him be able to mix it up, but it's going to be interesting down the stretch what happens with the running backs. But I thought for the most part, I thought that they all ran really well through the tackles. I thought that I mean, sometimes, especially with Sawchuk, I mean, hell, it was like 2 or 3 guys that were making sure they had that they were taking him down, because, you know, if he bounces off of you, he's probably gone. So I was really excited about what I saw. I was really definitely encouraged, given the offensive line, the makeshift offensive line as well. It's been a while. I can't wait for them all to get with everybody that's going to play this year. Like, have the ones, all the rest of that, because you got to think about it. Dating back to the bowl game against the Florida State, when is the last time we've had a healthy offensive line? I mean, like, all, you know, it's been a minute.
Yeah,
Probably since we had the Joe Moore line with Creed. That's probably the last time we've had like a healthy offensive line. But we still got players going, you know, draft potential first round picks on this line this year. So we'll get there. I'll just say that I think we'll get there. I think once Walter comes after, because he came in injured, he had surgery before he came in, and once his shoulder's healthy, he'll be fine. You got, you know, Caleb Schaefer, who did, I think he did well. Savion Bird's going to do well. I think we'll be fine on that line. And like you said, it's been a while since we've been fully healthy. And I think once the season comes, we will be. And I think we'll add some pieces from the transfer portal just to add additional depth, just in case, because you never can have too many offensive linemen. I'll be honest. You can have a roster of almost 50 of them, and it's almost not enough because they go through a lot chasing these 4'4", 40 defensive linemen and edges. Sure. So you got to have a lot of extras on the health side. But no, I'm with y'all. You know, Hicks was the one for me, and Kim made this comment here too, which that I think that's what jumped out to me. Hicks is DeMarco's guy. He has gravitated to him heavily. I've heard him in interviews talking about him in comments. I think Hicks is going to be something very, very special, and he just needs a breakout moment. Once that breakout moment hits, it's a done deal. So I'm feeling it.
He definitely looks the part, man. I mean, you look at him; he's ready to rock and roll. But I'm with Chris a little bit too, where I feel like no matter what, you're going to have those two guys are going to. Sawchuk's going to play. You got to play him, and the same goes for, obviously we saw it out of him last year. But these other guys are going to step up. I mean, they're going to be wanting playing time. That's why we've said this a bunch. This is the deepest running back room in the country. So if you're Marcus Majors, and we talked about this on the show last night with Chris, maybe you do need to take off and go find you a place to where you're going to get some more time, because I don't, when you haven't been available as much, and you start seeing this from younger guys, they're going to want to develop those younger guys first.
No, that's fair.
Jason,
that's very fair.
Jason had a great point. Jason said, hey, look, because we talked about Marcus Stripling an awful lot. And Jason, you said, hey, I mean, maybe you need to look elsewhere because, this is your last year of eligibility. It's either league or you're going to get filmed for the league or you're not, So that's something to really think about as well. And listening to Venables in his presser with the media before the spring game, I know he talked about that. He's like, he talked about how, there's going to be 13, 14 new guys coming in or whatever wherever that number was. But he also said, you know, there may be some other new guys that come in too, you know. So I know that he's for a fact going to be looking in the portal for something as well. And then yesterday, when he talked after the game, post spring game, as far as just saying, you know, hey, look, you know, I'm going to have conversations with all of these guys. And that's just telling me that, yeah, he's going to have some conversations as far as what needs to happen. I think Venables, for me, you know, I see the 24/7 sports and all the rest of that stuff. It's the summertime. It's the springtime going into summertime. We ain't got Jack Diddley squat to talk about all that much. So everybody's putting out the top 10 list, rightfully so. But they're talking about, you know, most pressured coaches. And, you know, I see Venables on there. I'm like, God bless. It's only his second season.
Right.
You know, hopefully we're not going 6 and 7 this year again, but at the same time,
I'll see how you really could.
Yeah, you have to feel, you know, you're just like, man, look, but I feel like Venables is putting a lot of pressure on this season because last year he just feels like personally it wasn't acceptable. I don't think he's even going off of what the fans or whatnot. I think that he expects to be better. And I think
took it personally.
Yeah, and I think that's what has been echoed throughout is that, hey, we legitimately last year feel good story, feel good moment, all the rest of this stuff. Now we're back to basics. Like this is real. And I think that it's been echoed throughout that, like, hey, you know, we have better athletes now. Like we feel we're at an adequate level.
And you also have a schedule that's very doable.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it's very doable. You know, there's not a whole lot of games. There's not a whole lot of games that you can literally you can look at with any real, you know, I don't know. If you're looking at it real at all, you can't say there's a lot of games on there that they should catch an L on. You just shouldn't. You know, I mean, you can maybe see them losing a game at BYU, possibly the Texas game. After that, they should win the rest.
I don't see them. If there was any games I had on my list circle was definitely the BYU because I think that's the furthest that we're traveling.
Right.
Yeah.
Besides that, we're in state and we go to Texas. We go to Dallas, but we're in state. Yeah, we're in state for 2 road games. Tulsa and Oklahoma. And Tulsa is our road game. And Okie and Oklahoma State. We're so we've got 2 road games in state, so we're not really trekking anywhere. We go up to Kansas this year, and then you have BYU, and that's really it. We go to Cincinnati too, don't we?
I think we go to Cincinnati early in the year, but everybody else.
So Cincy, BYU, and then we go to Dallas. That's really our furthest travel. In Kansas. So that's your 4 games that you really travel. That's more than like 300 miles.
We are elite if we're able to win double digits every game, especially given this schedule, because that means that we didn't take anybody lighthearted. Like we went out there, we handled business, and we got through. We're
that's not something you want to see. I don't want to see these guys screw that off and not get it done. You know what I mean? To where you have a 2-lane game or you have a, you know, one of those games that's a little tighter than what it should have been over the last few years that Lincoln was there. And you had them, you're right.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just, but you need to go and put the hammer down when it's time to put the hammer down on these guys and go get these wins. So, you know, there's a couple of trap areas that obviously you run into, but literally you 3 losses from a year ago are not on the schedule, you know? You know, it's one of those things you kind of have to look at.
Exactly. So
thanks for the super chat. F is for Fanatics.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. We're going to go transfer portal conversations. We've talked spring game. We're, of course, excited about that. F is for Fanatics dropped this in here. That was BS's USC fans are putting out saying they fought off OU for Bear Alexander. So I'm going to say this, F. I've heard the same thing. I've actually heard from some people within us that we dropped a bag too. And we tried. But he had someone, his quote unquote handler was at USC at their spring game right before he announced that he was going to the portal. So, you know, you can assume what you want, but I think that we tried. We competed for it. It just wasn't something that we were going to win because we talked about this actually on the last live stream that That's a player you pay for. You go after that. You go after an athlete like that.
Yeah, why
And
not?
so it's worth it because those players don't grow on trees.
They don't.
Those are ones you have to find a way to cultivate.
Yeah, my friend Bryce always says God doesn't make as many of those guys. It just doesn't.
Yeah, you
build
don't
as
make
many of them.
those.
Yeah,
They don't.
yeah.
You can't grow them. Those are ones that are only grown at the University of Georgia for some reason. They seem to have them coming off a conveyor belt. We don't do that. Nobody else can really do that as well.
Absolutely.
So besides that, the Brennan Thompson stuff. So K-Ref supposedly he was on there and he said that he was coming to Oklahoma. I need to go listen to that and report back. I hope that is true because I would love for us to get this additional wide receiver because I think we need additional wide receiver depth. No offense or shade or anything to Keon Brown or Petaway. They're freshmen. I would like to add a veteran presence with them just so that we can get them at least up to speed faster because Petaway's fast. Brennan Thompson is a track athlete, ran a 10-2-1. And if I'm correct, in high school. So, and he's on Texas track team. So him coming here, he'll be on the Oklahoma track team, which is a very good thing for us as well. Adding him, and then hopefully we can recruit Caden Durham with him because Caden Durham at running back runs like a 10-4, and he got like fourth place in Texas at a 10-4, 100-meter, absurdly fast. Adding all of that speed together, and then of course KJ Daniels, who's got some wheels on him, who I feel like is another little Hollywood.
Man, yeah.
I would love for us to go ahead and get Brennan locked in. So
I think it's pretty done.
Jason,
I think it's done.
yeah, you're saying it's a lock, right?
It's a
Chris,
lock, bro. It's a lock.
You're hearing a lock on Brennan as well, correct?
All eyes. I have every indication that it is. I think that I would say that it is. I think that he knows that OU is pretty much his leader until things kind of went cold. I think that there's that familiarity there, and they're going to do everything to come in there and protect him and give him every opportunity to do what he actually wants to do. And I think that this is a staff that he believes will actually give him an opportunity to not only come in here and be a part of the football team, but also run track, do things like that. And I don't think that you'll have a lot of the extracurricular stuff going on with the Twitter Spaces and stuff like that.
Well, his mama was so mad at Wayne.
Yeah, I've heard rumors about that. I haven't dug into it. We have to talk about that sometime soon.
I was looking at that one day. I was like, "Whoa!" She was really pissed at that dude.
Super pissed.
Watch out for Mama Thompson, man. Don't mess with that woman.
That is hilarious. Okay, more stuff in the portal. Any other names? I saw that O lineman Troy Everett pulled up. I think he was at, where was Troy at? Let me go look him up real quick and remember. I just had a complete Appalachian State. Yeah. App State, offensive lineman, redshirt freshman.
Big dude too.
Which he's a big boy, 6'3", 285. As a redshirt freshman, he is in the portal. I heard that he was in town, and I've heard rumors that we are leading for him.
Word.
From Virginia. So that would be nice if we can bring in someone of that size and stature to add to this offensive line and continuously add, like I said, to the depth, something that we need. Hank mentioned this earlier. Houston is hemorrhaging offensive linemen. They got 7 in the portal this year. And I'm not 7. I didn't say 7 offensive players. 7 offensive linemen are in the portal.
What is going on over there?
Well, they dismissed the offensive line coach earlier this year. And ever since then, it's basically been a mass exodus. Everybody's just
sounds like Okie Light over there.
So right. And so that's something to keep your eyes out for, is on the Troy Everett piece. Let's wrap it up. Anybody else that you guys seen or heard on the portal that's noteworthy? Chris, pass to you.
Out of the people that you've named, those are the only ones right now. I will say this though. Shout out to my aunt for watching. He said, "Hey, you got to tell them, Rouse committed to Nebraska and still ended up here. So
fair.
Don't give up on Bear just yet."
Fair. That is very true. We did flip routes from Nebraska, which is still, I don't know how the heck we pulled that one out, but yeah, we did. We sure the heck did. Good
That's
point.
cool.
Jason, thoughts?
Hey, I want to stay right there. I hope that's what happens. Anything to kind of. The one thing I would say about that, I don't have anything else on as far as the portal's concerned. I'm pretty much looking at Brennan Thompson. You've got a couple of other guys that are out there, but I haven't heard anything concrete on anything. I would say that I don't think Bear's enough for what they need at USC to get better on defense. What we were talking about the biggest last night was that when you bring a bunch of guys in, it's one thing, but one dude, and they're probably going to want him to lose 40 pounds too. So, is he going to be the same Bear over there? I don't know.
That's true. And I know
do they see him as Gallimore or no? That's the only thing I can say is
wow. You brought that name in here?
Okay. I'm just saying.
The other good thing too is we still got a whole bunch of freshman offensive linemen coming through that aren't here yet. So Logan Holland and Heath, you're gonna have a whole bunch of additional players coming in with some of the recent commits. So yeah, I'm the Bear Alexander move has to be an NIL play. Well, that was one of the notes supposedly out there was NIL because of how successful he was in the national championship. While at the same time, he goes there and he starts in the Pac-12. As long as they don't make him lose weight, he's going to wreak havoc out there for a full year.
It just feels like one of those moves where, son, all I can say is that don't ever choose your friends over development, man. That's the biggest thing, right? Y'all gotta go out there and do something. Obviously, Caleb and that defense, their offense is gonna put up numbers regardless of who's out there. We already know that, but people, all eyes are gonna be on you when you're playing in Utahs and Oregons of the world. I don't even know what their schedule looks like, but I know everybody's trying to make a big thing out of this Colorado game, which I still think we're about a year away from that being a legitimate matchup. It could be a good game this year. It could be a shootout, but I think Lincoln Riley will make it a shootout. But as far as being
a shootout with them, it's always going to be a shootout with them.
Yeah, but I just want to see. Let me look at their schedule real quick.
Who, Colorado?
Go ahead. No,
SC schedule's tough. SC schedule's tough.
Do they have Oregon on it this year?
I think they lose 4, man. I do.
Yeah, they've got a pretty tough schedule.
I think they lose 4 games, bro.
I don't know. They travel to Oregon in November. So November 11th, they'll be in Oregon. Washington comes to them. Utah comes to them. They go to Colorado. They go to Notre Dame. Those are notable games that they have traveling. And then, of course, around the corner from them is UCLA, in which I think UCLA is going to be a problem for a lot of people this season as Chip Kelly's finally getting his bearings back and he's starting to figure things out. But all right, let's wrap it up, folks. Put a bow on it. Thank y'all for pulling up as usual. Chris, let the people know where to find you.
Hey, Horns Down Podcast. You can find us at the Horns Down Pod on Twitter. You can also find me at Chris with a K on Twitter as well. Horns Down Pod on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get that at. And then obviously YouTube. Definitely check us out. Like, subscribe, share. Everybody's content. It definitely helps us all out.
Heck yeah. Jason, let people know where to find you.
Hall of Fame College Football Podcast here on YouTube. It's at CFB-pod. And then you can always check us out on Twitter at BirdieManDub or our website, hofmedia.us. And check out the video I'm going to have coming out later today over overreacting to the spring game. Just going to do a little quick video, a couple things that we probably overreact to, a couple things we might be underreacting to. So check it out there. And then, that's it. But thanks for having me on. Always good to talk to you guys. I love talking ball with my boys here. So,
one last thing before we go. Yes. If you guys saw me looking down, I was messaging one of my friends. I use the word friend very loosely. He's a Texas guy. He just told me that he believes that we're going to win the Big 12 this year. So he says defense seems to be stout. They actually have wide receivers this year. So just wanted to put that out there. Texas is winning the Big 12. So
bloody jeez. Oh,
Real
of
quick.
course.
Oh, good grief. Yeah,
Good
screw
grief.
that guy.
Good
Who's
grief.
that guy? Hey,
Who's that
I do
guy?
want to say, I got to say something real quick, man. Hank just won the day in the comments. He just said, "Have you ever seen a damn bear do yoga?" I love it.
Wow.
That's funny.
Hold up, Hank.
Oh,
You know
my
I've got to
boy.
find. Yeah, there we go. Ever seen a damn bear do yoga? Well,
And we have a winner.
we're gonna probably see it. So y'all know to find us if on the stream for the Hall of Fame side. Go holla at Chris. Make sure you like, subscribe, and all of that jazz. Here at Unfair Sports, you know how we do it. Thank y'all for pulling up as usual, and we will chop it up probably in a week or two. Peace.